Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the 10K Project. This is our Bet on Black pitch. My name is Tawana Rivers, your CEO, and we are joined by another amazing founder this evening. We have Asosa with us this evening from Layman. We're going to hear all about Layman. First of all, I want to thank everyone who has joined us here live. You guys know how I feel about us showing up live for the founders because the energy is just always so amazing as we get to the Q&A section. For those of you watching the replay, we missed you and we hope you join us live next week. But we're so excited that you are watching this replay. And I am going to share the campaign page so that we can get right to business tonight.
Honestly.
All right. So this company is called Layman. And as you can see, we are catching Asosa at the beginning of the campaign. So we are super excited to be his first group that he's presenting to. We are his friends and family, right? And so we are going to help him meet some of the early thresholds that he has to meet. As a benefit to being early, we get to take advantage of the early bird terms. There are $25,000 left in the early bird term, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means. So the early bird terms is referencing the fact that the first $25,000 of the investment raise will be in a safe note with a $250,000 valuation cap and a 10% discount. After that $25,000 is met, then those amounts would change. And so we are getting in on preferred terms when you get in early. Okay, just to make that clear for everyone. The minimum investment is only $100, right? And so as I kind of always say, 100 is the minimum. You definitely can do more if you have more to do and you feel like this campaign fits in your portfolio nicely, right? You guys know I always tell you how much information is on the campaign page, how important it is for you to scroll through. And Sosa is going to tell us all about him and his background, how he came up with this amazing idea. But you also get that information here on the campaign page as well, right? So there's a lot of information for you to be able to see. You guys know how I feel about the ask a question section, right? You get to ask questions this evening live with the founder, which is definitely a benefit and a perk of being a member, because how often do we get to ask our founders questions in some of those companies we invest in that are already public? Never, right? So the fact that we get some one-on-one time with our early stage founders, I think is an amazing thing. But if you don't think of a question to ask tonight and you think of it later, this is where you can come on the campaign page, the ask a question section, and ask a question, and Asosa will answer those questions for you there. Okay, so with that said, I am going to stop sharing. And I see you all still coming in. Thank you for joining us. Don't stop putting your city and state in the chat as we're talking. Let's keep that chat going, but make sure your questions go in the Q&A. With that said, sir, I am going to turn this over to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want you to tell us all about you and all about Layman.
Of course. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Asosa Ahomba. Asosa is a Nigerian name. I am Nigerian American. Sosa means God's gift. And I like to start off with this story because it tells a story about how we came here to get today. And Layman is a lot of me, one as a founder, and then the vision I have for this country as someone who's like the first generation immigrant here. So I'm from Houston, Texas originally. So how to all the H-Town people who are here. Also love Beyonce for that exact reason and everything like that. And I grew up as the youngest child of 6 to a single mother in Houston. It was a very interesting life. She was extremely religious. She was extremely Nigerian. And I was her first quote unquote Black American child because I was born here. This made an interesting story for us because we never had it easy having so many kids and one parent who was a nurse. And then when it came to me coming out and becoming myself, my mom did not take that well. And that led to me be relying on the system. I had to rely on friends and family. I had to rely on people's houses. I remember my first apartment, I paid $250 a month to sleep on somebody's couch in Pittsburgh. So I had this experience of like having to pull myself up by the bootstraps that really influenced how I saw the world. So to say all of that, I was really lucky. I was able to go to college. Some of my siblings were not able to. I was really lucky that even though I didn't know what I wanted to do at college, I at least did well in it. And I wanted to get back to my community. I became an activist in many ways. I worked with Black Youth Project. I got awards doing so, became a Fulbright scholar, and really tried my best to give back. And eventually, at some point in time, while I'm doing all my activism and so forth, someone was like, "Hey, you're really smart. Maybe you should try becoming a lawyer." And I did. So I got into NYU. They tried to do law, and I wanted to do racial justice law, did a racial justice clinic, worked at ACLU for a second, and then realized that I felt that lawyers, as they are, were not the way to solve this problem. And I'm going to tell you the problem. The problem was that I was the only person of color in many of the spaces I saw and within the legal field. That's at the ACLU, especially. The ACLU is extremely, if you don't know, it's extremely white space. Many of these lawyers did not understand where I was coming from. They had to do with the things I had to do to find a place to stay. They had to have worked 2 jobs at the same time while also going to school and barely getting any sleep. They don't know that lifestyle. So these issues that like really matter to us in our community, those issues of like having family members literally in prison are issues that they do not understand and therefore do not focus on. I pushed myself as best as I could to like find spaces within the legal space to like make an impact, be like a Benjamin Crump or something. But the issue is so much bigger than one attorney or a couple of attorneys. The reality is that, okay, beyond having a few Black attorneys who really care about our issues, a lot of people have to go by themselves. And when I say go by themselves, I mean that you have a family member who's probably going to go in front of a judge when it comes to their sentencing hearing, their child support hearing, their custody hearing, the divorce hearing, their bankruptcy hearing, debt, etc., by themselves with no attorney support whatsoever. And you might be like, okay, maybe an attorney doesn't really make that much of a difference after all. Most attorneys are liars. Most attorneys are slick at the mouth. Most attorneys are rude, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't disagree with you on any of those concepts whatsoever. But the reality is when it comes to having an attorney and not having attorneys, like trying to do surgery without a surgeon and trying to do surgery by yourself when you do have the surgeons right there. And the statistical difference is like, if you have an attorney, you have the 54% chance of succeeding. And if you don't, you have a 7% chance of succeeding in court, no matter what is going on. And you can imagine what that means. For instance, you go to the hospital, they charge you a ridiculous bill. That is a legal issue. They can't charge you that ridiculous bill. Their actual pricing in the terms is probably $10,000 less. You can afford an attorney to fight this case for you. So maybe you go before a judge, maybe you go to a hearing. And because you don't say the right thing, this very old, very male, very white judge is going to tell you that you don't get nothing, you're not owed nothing, and you're not going to get any money back today. And those are hours wasted, time wasted, etc. I realized that if we're going to make any change in the American legal system, it has to come from the people themselves and not from high-minded attorneys, people who have their heart in the right place but don't know what's going on, people who have to rely on nonprofit money from very rich foundations to make it happen. It has to be the people themselves that are going through it. So I came up with this company, Layman, while it's still in law school, my 3rd year of law school, to solve this particular problem. How can we make the people who are going through it and fighting these ridiculous battles with social welfare, social security, social services hearings, adult services, etc. How can we make them the best advocates they can be and get success? And there's 2 pieces to that, right? One piece is that the system is terrible. The system is effed up. So no matter how good you're going to be, the system might still screw you over. Another part of that is we've never seen in this country what it would look like if every single Black, Brown, Latinx, Asian American person had the ability to advocate effectively before the court and effectively within the government. How would the government react differently if every single person is saying the same things that the rich white lawyers are saying when they get in front of the courtroom and not have to do something about it? And I was so curious about the solution that we started to design this. And what I relied upon was some work I did in my Fulbright. So I went to Fulbright as a Black person. There's no Black people in Fulbright usually. And when I got there, I went to Kenya because I wanted to go to Africa. Never been to Africa. I really wanted to see what that was like. Then they were like, oh, you're Black like us. You're not one of the Wazungus, which is a white person. You're one of the Kenyans. So why would I learn English from you? That was their response. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my own research. I'm just gonna walk around and help people. I ended up volunteering at a sexual assault and sexual violence clinic. While I was there, I met a woman named Grace Oyugi. Grace Oyugi is what Kenyans call a human rights activist and or case navigator. Grace is not a college-educated person. She is not a lawyer. But what she does do is that she has a car and she supports these women in naming the people who assaulted them. So Grace would drive up there all the way up in the mountain somewhere, because that's where people live in, drive them back down to the court in the city side so they can show up. And this is a necessary part in the Kenyan court system to actually get a perpetrator in jail and point out and name the person who assaulted them. She supports them, she gives them advice, she gives them tools while they do so. And I was like, this is a beautiful model. Because we went from people having a 5% chance of arresting someone for sexual assault to getting to somewhere in the 30 or 40% chance, which is a dramatically high percent chance within Kenya. So I was like, why can't we take this idea? Why can't we take Grace, this woman who doesn't have a college education, doesn't have a legal education, but can dramatically increase someone's odds of succeeding in court? Why can't we take Grace, digitize her, make her into an app, and bring her here so that people know what to say when they're in front of a judge for the first time in their life, when they're in front of a cop for the first time in their lives, and make the system work for them. So I took those basic concepts that Grace was providing, that was providing a community of sorts. She was host support groups every Sunday morning. They'll start off with a prayer, almost like they're going to church, and they'll start talking about what they're going through in their particular cases. So we provide that support aspect. Why don't we provide a resources aspect? Because Grace has been through doing this for 10 years, so she knew exactly what forms to give you, what pages to sign, how to sign them, and what to fill them with. So like giving that resource aspect, so you have the right paper in front of you, and that is huge in the American court system. And then why don't we just have that logistical aspect? This will call you multiple times, send you 20 WhatsApp messages just to make sure that you're on time. And it works. It works. I remember I'll wake up at 6 a.m. to follow her. So it works, and we'll all get there on time. And providing all of these elements and making it into an app, I feel like can actually address this core issue. So we started at it. I found about 6 interns and two awesome brothers, honestly, to work with me on this idea. And we started like researching and working on it. We took our best chance, honestly, at researching how people went through the process and made a huge database of like 2,500 tags. And we're like, okay, we have the legal system. Now we're trying to apply those tags to social media. Because what the idea is, we want to make an AI that can take a WhatsApp post, take a Facebook post, take a text message you sent, and find a legal issue in that. And by doing that, we can translate what people understand to be just and right into the language that lawyers use to talk about issues. And we started that process, and it's been a lot of fun, as you can imagine, because there's so much out there, but there's also so much need. All the while, we're being informed by people who are like us, who want to do this, people who have to go through it by themselves. We had an amazing opportunity to talk to a D farmer. She was a Black woman who was a Black trans woman who was put in a male prison in the 1990s. And what that happened to her is that she was sexually assaulted in that prison system. And she was able to advocate for herself and show up before the Supreme Court because no attorney, ACLU included, many of the law school universities included, would represent her. So she got before the Supreme Court, she argued her case and she won. And we got the chance to talk to her and we were like, how do we make more of you? How do we make more people who are gonna go in front of the Supreme Court and say, you're gonna listen to me, you're gonna hear me? And just taking that process and like using those skills and those stories and coming up with this idea that people's stories can have power and people can tell other people how to do things. D. Farmer is now an expert, in my opinion, on Article 8 constitutional law. That means D. Farmer is an expert on habeas corpus and how to get out of prison. She is not a lawyer to this day, but we can use DeFarmer. And if we can find a platform, which we hope Layman to be a place where DeFarmer can be like, hey, this is how I did it, so this is how you can do it too. What a dramatic change that will be. And there are so many legal little niceties that I'm constantly discovering and talking about with people who are not lawyers. And it's like, we want a space for all of that. For instance, I'm gonna give you a couple of them. If you just got your registration, but you haven't gotten your sticker, your receipt works perfectly fine. And if a police officer stops you, they are in contravention of state law. Concepts like that, really basic. If you are about to be evicted from your home, if you say that you have black mold, even if it's not even true, if you say you think you have black mold, the eviction stops right there. Because in many states and many state law, they have to investigate that black mold claim, and that can take to them 3 to 6 months to do. You now have 6 months more of breathing room. And when one of the things I put in one of my slides is like how a landlord told their person, hey, you're evicted via text. That wasn't just noticed. You're not evicted. They have to give you the pink slip. Until then, they can say where they are and you can say where you are. And these are these small things, the power difference, the knowledge difference, the knowledge is power difference that makes for a difference in wealth between what I believe to be Black identities, brown identities who don't know these facts, and white identities who do. There's so much more to this story that I would love to talk about. And there's so much more to talk about when it comes to like, what is the law? But one of the things I want to really, really highlight in doing this process and doing this experience and coming in with my perspective is that the law is lived and the law is everywhere. So it's not, if it comes off as a mystery, it's because that's what they want you to think. If it comes like it doesn't impact you, that's because it's what they want you to think. If they want to make you feel like you don't have no rights, that's because that's what they want you to feel like you have no rights. 92% of the time you do. 92% of the time you can be a Karen yourself and you're totally in the just. 92% of the time there are things and powers that be that can be on your side if you only know how to name them and claim them within either the court of law or within any hearing with an authority. And this platform is all about that concept. You guys, your stories, your message, your beliefs, and your ideas about what is right is all valid and just. The law system will recognize that if it's framed in the right way. So that's my whole spiel on Layman and my mission. I can get really nitty gritty, but when it comes to how does it make me feel, that's how it makes me feel.
Wonderful. Very, very good. And so tell us how Layman makes money.
Of course. Now let's get into nitty gritty. So Layman is a social venture, and a social venture means that we are a for-profit institution. We wanted to be a for-profit institution because we didn't believe in the nonprofit industrial complex. So that means we didn't believe that just being a nonprofit and asking people for money over and over again will lead to the type of change that we're looking for. We want to be more like Google, that we're around for the next couple of decades, helping people and becoming a household name. Now, as a social venture, we want to be as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. That means that we are going to be freemium. We're like think of a social network. Think of Facebook, think of Reddit, think of Instagram. That means when you walk in, it's going to be free to you to walk into this space and use our app to figure out your legal claims. However, we're freemium, being the premium part. There will be premium services where like we can mail documents on your behalf. We can call people on your behalf, and we can give you additional advice when it comes to like legal issues you may be facing. On top of that, our biggest revenue stream will be other law firms in the US government, because as you can imagine, law firms have lots of money and that are not dedicating to social justice issues. And this is a social justice issue that they could dedicate money to. By advertising under our platform, they get access to our clients and our users, but also get to expand this particular platform, this WebMD of law of a sorts, so people can get help and people can understand the law better.
Very good. Thank you for that. So talk a little bit about so the law firms become partners, but where's the strategy and what is the strategy for ensuring that we've got enough Black attorneys? Because as you said earlier, oftentimes you are the only Black attorney in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we ensure that those Black law firms or those Black legal associations are also a part of this?
So we're definitely we took a grassroots approach when it came to building out our justice tech network. So really us as a team and us being very transparent about who we are when it comes to talking to other people and seeing who's gonna be a good fit as being a partner to us. That's one part of it. The second part of it is that we truly do believe in transparency. So every single part of our platform is reviewable, including the attorneys who advertise on it. So when it comes to whether you're getting the experience you're looking for, even if they are kinfolk, and if they have not achieved that, your reviews are be a part of that experience. Your reviews will also determine whether they're going to be recommended or featured or not. We're trying our best to make a better legal system. So that means that we have to be open to critique and also be willing to critique others and even our own partners and family members. What that also means is that we're giving you the best possible content because everything is reviewable. And why we say that's so important to us is that our number one competitor, which is Avo, LegalZoom, Rocket Lawyer, Legal Shield, all those things, if you know any of them, they're all at an F rating at Better Business Bureau.
Wow.
If you go on TruePilot right now, they're around D- is the highest if they're not at F. And they're at F because lawyers are rude, nasty, mean, well, then you know, all those things. And the reviews that people make do not have an impact on the lawyers that are sourced for these platforms and the advice that you may receive from that. So the idea that of using other people, experienced people as resources, not only gives you more cultural competency, more relevance, being maybe more straightforward, being kinder, but it also allows so that these lawyers will tighten up when they also provide advice and resources on this platform because they're on the same level as you and they're just trying to give you information as good as anyone else can.
Wow. Um, let's talk a little bit about what the monies will be used for that you're trying to raise. Do you already have a working app? Do you have MVP? Let's talk a little bit about the progress you've made with bootstrapping and how the funds will assist you to get to the next level.
So the funds will actually mostly go towards marketing, and there's a huge reason why. So for the bootstrapping piece, we got all the way to where we are. We have our website, we have social media, we have an MVP that we're working on, and the free labor of our many interns has been monumental in achieving all of these things. Well, the next round of money goes towards targeting this messaging because what we're trying to message is a very unique nut to crack. And this is the first time that law has actually challenged this question. What we're messaging is what is the value of lawyers itself. And as you can imagine, we just take that for granted. You're like, oh yeah, you need a lawyer for that, or a lawyer is great, or oh, well, that person has so many lawyers. But what is the value of lawyers? It seems if you don't have lawyers in your life or lawyers not supporting you, they're not of any value to you, especially if those lawyers are rude to you and far overpriced. And we're saying, okay, the legal experience, legal education, legal knowledge can be accessible and affordable. What is that value statement? To us, it's power. To us, it's knowledge. To us, it's that being able to change your own life and get unstuck out of situations. But messaging that to people who have no understanding of what a lawyer even does, or to lawyers who have no understanding what a lawyer does, is a part of the question of like marketing. And we want to make not just a market campaign, but really a movement for people to say, hey, what I'm going through right now is a legal issue, and I want justice for this. I don't have to suffer this terrible work environment where I am the only Black cis there and they talk to me crazy. And I have the tools now and the skills too to advocate for myself for a better situation and even get back pay from the EEOC.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a concept they're trying to provide because if you are very privileged, this is intuitive to you because you won't suffer nothing. You will call your lawyer, you'll figure it out. But if you're a working class person, you're paying your bills and your family's bills, you're figuring it out, that is not as intuitive for you. But I'm saying that we can have a new normal, and that's what we want to market, that's what we want to shape. And that's gonna be a lot more than your regular market campaign. That's gonna be working with people, it's gonna be giving promotions, it's gonna be giving trainings, it's gonna be mobilizing youth, honestly, to talk to their friends and family and have them be also experts and advocates. So having a larger campaign where we're mobilizing the community as a whole. Even doing affiliate programs for people who are using our platform, like it, and they want to do it, and we're paying them to be like, hey, go talk to your friends and family about that. So that's what where the money is going to, is going to this idea of like, we really want to empower the community, and we want to empower the community while marketing to community. We're not going to sell you a cryptocurrency. We're trying to sell you justice. So we're going to do much more than that.
Very good. Very, very good. So do you have, do you have a working app to date?
We do. We do, actually, which is crazy. The app works. We're about to do a private beta later this month.
Okay.
We are taking away we're doing the final polishing because I'm a perfectionist. That's my problem. That's the reason why it hasn't launched. We're doing the final polish, the final removing of bugs, and we're gonna do a private beta, and then people get to see how it works. Is not lickety split in the way that we want it to be. And that's what some of the money will go to, making this process a little bit faster. But does it work? Yes. Does it give you the idea? Yes. But what we want is that beautiful experience of being on TikTok. We want it to be like, you get on TikTok, you type in your question, and the resources show up to you, recommended to you for who you are, where you are, what county, what court is in your area, what resources are in your area. And you start seeing that and you just start swiping. And as you're swiping in that experience, we're building a document on our end. We're building your claim on your end. So you go to the next page, you go to your profile, you see your claim waiting for you, a whole PDF waiting for you to submit to whoever you need to submit it to get your next path of action. What the app does currently on top of that is that it connects you to a support group immediately after of people who also been through that. So you're getting these updates, you're getting these connections, you're getting these stories from people who also are going through that. And this idea was a really beautiful part that actually came when I was doing the customer discovery part. I was like, I want to fix this. I was working in the city government. I was like, I want to fix this problem. And I was talking to this other sis who was a lawyer, and I didn't know this about her. We were in the same office, and I wasn't in law school yet, so I was a student. And she was like, oh, that's actually a really great idea. One thing I really like is a support group because my husband has cancer. And I couldn't have gotten through that if I didn't have a support group with me. And yeah, I am a lawyer. I am, I have money or whatever, all these things, blah, 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 blah. But just having people behind you as you go through hard stuff really makes it so much more possible to get through it. So I was like, we want the support groups elements. We're going to be a part of that. And we're going to be checking in on you, sending you notifications. So I think the last thing before we do our private launch literally is a notification piece of having that constant messaging. And we have trainings, which is really exciting. That was something that just happened like last week. We do legal education trainings as a part of it. And the AI ranges the trainings automatically by itself is pretty exciting when it does it. And it figured that part out at the very least. But yeah, it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing of being educated about having your rights. And the app is basically up to par. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, congratulations. I cannot wait to see it. We want you to come back and reveal the beta launch to us, and we share it with our community.
Yes.
We want to be your first downloaders. So that's cool. And what I will tell you is some advice I got. Actually, we're heading into our 3-year anniversary, right? So I got this advice a little more than 3 years ago, because we planned for about 6 months before we launched, from actually my business partner and best friend, Talisha Shine, who is our admin tonight. And I am not a perfectionist per se, but I need structure and I need everything to line up, right? And in business, that's almost impossible, right? And I remember her telling me I needed to be agile. And so, and that's better than having it all together up front, right? If you can be agile, then you can kind of stick and move as the changes and things come at you, right? And so I would say to you, suppress that perfectionist side of you so that you can get this launched, right? Because it has to get what you're doing is absolutely amazing and necessary, right? We know that it will save lives. We know that it will keep poor people in their home. I mean, I got 2 people I can tell this black mold thing to, that I'm gonna text as soon as we're done. Like, like just that little thing that can get somebody 6 more. Like I got 2 people that are going through that right now with a possible eviction. And so more of that information has to get out, right? 6 months, you know how much somebody can find a job, get some savings under their belt, catch up. You know how much 6 more months of time can do to save a life? Like, that's huge. We've got to get this out. We've got to get this launched. So I just want you to put Mr. Perfectionist in your pocket for a little bit and get this thing, right? That's why they came up with MVP, right? Minimum viable product, right? build it so it works and you can prove the concept so that people will give you more money, and then you make it pretty, right? That's the invite. Talisha said perfectionism stunts progression.
That is true.
Yeah. Yes, Edward said 6 months is good leeway. It is absolutely leeway. And Andrea said, just do it. So absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I want to talk a little bit more about revenue, and then I'll get to some of the questions in the Q&A. What's the 3-year revenue projection? So, we're an investor community. We're thinking about, how we make money, and we can back into that slowly. Like you could say, how much is the average ad spend, right? That you'll pay for an attorney. And then we can kind of back into the numbers that way. But I want to hear some more about the numbers. So it's free to the public, right? Unless we buy some of the upgraded services.
Yes.
Let's talk about on estimate what some of those extra services would cost. And then also the largest revenue flow, it appears to be, is going to come from those law firms. What does that look like? Are they paying, $1,000 a month to have access to ads? Is it $100 a month? Let's talk a little bit about the numbers.
Oh, no, definitely. So we chose the number for our premium of $5 to $25 because I think the lowest entrant price in this market was $30. And we were like, on comparison, Ava was $300. And one of the people who is very popular right now, Do Not Pay, is about $50 starting off, which I thought was ridiculous. We wanted to do 5 because we realized that the population size of people who potentially would need this is about 100 million people. We're looking at almost a third of Americans will either have an ongoing legal issue or will experience a new legal issue and will go through it without having an attorney. 1. 2, 70% of all cases in the US court system have one party without an attorney. So 70%. Wow. That is a ridiculous number. So we were like, okay, we want a market of saturation versus having a very high bar of entry. We want as many people as possible to use it and pay whatever they possibly can. It will give us a huge flow from the consumer side. However, when it comes to what lawyers spend on advertising, so lawyers as a whole US market spend about 7% of their entire revenue on marketing. That price actually turns out to be $28 billion. So the market size for lawyers paying for marketing is $28 billion. 27 billion of that is already mobilization. So the money is actually being used by people. We want to break into that, obviously, because lawyers seem to be very happy to spend their money on doing marketing. That's how I will describe it. We wanted to do a slightly cheaper licensing project just because we recognize that we are a non-lawyer advocate platform. So 1, we are catering to lawyers, but then 2, there are also many other providers who will be interested in this. When I remember pitching this, I had a social work unit come up to me and say, oh, we would love this actually, but we need a pricing model that let us in. And I was like, first of all, we want our ad buy to be slightly cheaper in the first place because we want the small firms as well who are spending several $1,000s a year on marketing already. So we want the small firms too, but we're going to have a lower one just because we also want the social workers to get into it. We want the finance people to get into it. We want the accountants to get into it, etc. So totally. And we're going to also figure out means for you to get some money back so it can be cheaper for you to be a part of this because you are a content creator when it comes to doing good. So that's another part of that. Now there's a second piece that was this is very, very exciting. So we have, because we are AI powered, we have data. We have lived data about people who are going through the legal system. At first, you're like, okay, that's actually kind of interesting, but data is data, and we know we live in a data age. I'll let you understand, there is no other source of legal data in America because most court systems are not even digital.
Wow.
Yale and Stanford are the top law schools in this country, have been trying to crack the legal data problem for the past 5 years. They have not been able to crack the legal data problem. A company from LexisNexis, which is one of the largest legal technology companies out there, has just released last year a legal analytics company for the first time ever. And they are still in the quote phase, so they're not even giving out services. What Layman also offers to law firms and people who work with it is legal data in the aggregate. So what that means for people who are our regular consumers, who are a part of our premium model, and what that means for law firms who are going to work for us, and one reason our value add, why we're going to get a lot of money from them, is that we now can know judicial trends before anyone else does. We will know the Supreme Court's going to leak their Dobbs docket before they will, like stuff like that, because we have this data in aggregate of people who are trying to figure out what's going on with their lives in the legal system. Once again, no one else has this. No one else has figured it out. Many docket systems don't work. And that is an emerging market. So we don't even know what the true valuation of that's going to be because no one else does, but we're incredibly excited to be one of the first front runners in that. And the only way we can crack that egg is with working with people, not against them, and working with them to show that we need this type of help. We need this type of aid. We need these type of courts. We're making these type of claims. So that's super exciting. I can't give you a metric on that, but I will say the market sizes for these other platforms, we're looking at a $50 billion market size for the entirety of the app as an idea, not considering other revenue possibilities from government and corporations. And when it comes to what the individual spends on average, they spend about $250 on average a year trying to access legal services. Our premium model cuts that in half at $120. So we're far cheaper than whatever alternative you're going to use. And when it comes to law firms, they're spending upwards from $3,000 to several tens of thousands, depending on the size of the firm, dramatically so on ad buy. And we hope to also cut that to some degree, maybe 70% or 80%, but nothing ridiculous. So we want money from them. But yeah, there is money to be made here.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. All right, let's get to the people's questions.
Yes, love that.
Tammy said fantastic. Tammy don't even have a question. She just want to tell you fantastic. Anonymous says, wow, this is a potential threat to the country's 150-year plus penal system of maintaining free labor. I can only imagine that another threat to the status quo will trigger serious attention. What are, if any, safeguards against new legislation or suppression in other forms from the government? Because in my opinion, when their cash flow changes, they will come.
You're absolutely right. So before I ever incorporated, I spent about 6 months researching whether a solution like this could exist. Because I had the exact same concern that you did, where it's like, oh, if this is a good idea, why has no one tried it before? Then I realized that people had tried it before, and we're now at a turning point in our country currently. So the history is that people like Avo, LegalZoom, and Upshold have all tried to make legal services cheaper. What happened was that the American Bar Association turned against them and took them to court. Why this is so pertinent is that the American Bar Association, when it first came into existence in 1906, came into existence because Howard made the first 3 Black lawyers. So Howard University created 3 Black lawyers into the entirety of the legal system of America at the time. I'm probably wrong in the year, but I'm definitely right about the facts. Anyways, they came in and the ABA was formed as a means to make sure that they don't ruin the image of the profession. So they made a bar association to bar certain attorneys to actually practice, and these Howard attorneys were not allowed to practice in the country. And then from this period on, decades and decades of work will go into making the ABA an association that recognizes more people. And even now, only 6% of all attorneys are Black. In recent history, the ABA has stopped many efforts, including creating pamphlets on divorce. So the ABA started off with just fighting some lawyer sis at legal services who wanted to make pamphlets about divorce, and she brought them to court and they fought her. So when we made Layman, we were like, okay, recognizing that we cannot help people in the direct way that we can, what is legally allowed in a way to help people? We said, okay, well, because America hates people, they allow people to represent themselves in court, knowing full and well that they're not going to succeed as well as they're supposed to. It's a part of their constitutional rights to have their day in court, even whether or not they have an attorney or not. So since this is a constitutional lever that they left behind as a way to harm people, because if it's an issue they care about, they will give you an attorney. But in this particular issue, they're not going to. Mind you, in Delaware court and business law, every single person there has an attorney. When the corporations have their big cases, every single person has an attorney. But in this particular case, because they know you will not succeed as well without an attorney, they're not going out to give you a Gideon, which is what it's called. We're going to leave this door open. And I said, okay, let's think strategically. This door is still open as a constitutional space, and it's going to be very hard to close it since it's a constitutional right. If we can make those people who are going through that door actually better advocates, it's going to be a lot harder for them to make the same reaction they did to other self-help platforms in the past. Many times, for instance, AVO, what they did was they unbundled legal services. So instead of charging in a billable hour portfolio, they charge you for each form they worked on. As you can imagine, this is a far cheaper model for people who need an attorney. Taken to court. Upsolve was trying to do quick and easy bankruptcy filings with some legal support. You get connected to a lawyer and they do a bankruptcy filing for you pretty easily. When it comes to debt in this country or possession, you imagine it's a pretty amazing innovation. They were taken to court. The one thing they can't do is that you represent yourself, you figured out yourself, you read it yourself, and you wrote it out yourself. Who are you going to take to court in this situation? Oh, theoretically, of course, they could always bring it back to us. But one thing that we have that AVO doesn't, or LegalZoom didn't at the time, or Upsolve didn't at the time, is that we have the understanding that this moment will come, and we have prepared ourselves as best of our ability to be prepared for that. When it comes to security, when it comes to stop guards, when it comes to how do we design this particular platform, and we're in a different time period. We have ChatGPT 3 now. Lawyers are using ChatGPT 3 to write briefs for people, and the people don't even know that.
Wow.
And they're using this AI to talk about court. One of our most direct competitors does almost exactly what we do, but for lawyers, where they use ChatGPT 3 to write out the entirety of the brief for them. That's okay, because ABA has no, thanks. The ABA has no issue with lawyers doing that. They have an issue with regular people having just claims. That's what they have an issue with. So when that moment comes, that moment will come, but although we're in a different time period, and we're part of the Self-Represented Litigants Network, so srln.org, and we're working with them to figure out ways legally to open up this space even further so that we can also have that same technology when it comes to regular litigants, when it comes to regular Americans.
Very good. Thank you for that. Thank you for thinking through that in advance, also knowing that that's going to be something that you have to really kind of safeguard yourself against. Patrice says, from day one, are you capturing the data to show the results of the people who use your app?
Yes, we are. We have a lot of listeners. So what we're trying to do, so once again, we have a legal data problem, right? But then on top of the legal data problem, we don't have any understanding of how the law impacts certain individuals more so than others. We only have guesstimates. So one of the things that we did, which is like hotly contested, is that we actually do track people's identities within the system to the best of our ability. And the goal in doing so was to show just like how disproportionate the legal experience truly is, and have the data to back it up in a way that people can actually use and action on. So when we designed the database itself and designed the tags, we kept in mind that we want to know what this is like. We have tags that uniquely focus on reproductive justice, or tags that uniquely focus on subsidized housing. And in addition to that, we have tags that focus on what identity you are, what is your gender identity, how old are you, etc., to start to get to that graininess of how is the legal support system failing some and supporting others. So yeah, from day one, we've been always about that. It's been a very data idea in a way.
Nice. Raphael says, how are you able to spread the word legally before the launch of the app? So what's the marketing strategy?
Okay, legally before the launch of the app, the marketing strategy has really been social media thus far. We've just been trying to build credibility, and we have a Twitter page and a LinkedIn page. And the idea of building credibility right now in this particular moment before we launch the app is that we are doing a grassroots model of networking. We want people who are currently already engaged in helping people recognize there's another tool out there and coming out there. We want them to start giving us advice about how they want it to look and how they're going to shape it, and also be people who are going to advocate it for when it finally does come out. This has been very organic, as you can imagine. So it really is just us, like, going up to different organizations and justice firms and just getting on Twitter threads and commenting on that. But it really has been that process of like, we want it to be that, okay, not only do we have like our social media ad or your Instagram ad, but let's say someone comes in after like experiencing disrespect or abuse in the hospital. They talk to their nurse and the nurse says, oh, have you heard about Layman? That's the goal that we want to have and why we detect that marketing strategy before we even launch the app. Where the person's like, oh, that's coming around the corner, maybe that will help you, type of idea.
Nice. So I just had an idea. I saw this, and I can't remember the name of can't remember the profile name, but this came across my feed probably several months ago. And it was a reenactment of a pullover, right? Police pulled someone over. And it was one of those reenactments where then there's voiceover saying, breaking down legally what happened, right? And you know, in the comments, everybody's got their opinion, right? When we see someone pulled over, or we see a video that someone caught of something, you know, from a legal standpoint that was unjust, everybody's got an opinion, right? Should they have complied? Did they have the right to not get out of the car? Like we all have an opinion about that, right? The rule in my house was do whatever you got to do to come home alive.
Yeah.
And we'll figure the rest out the next day, right? The goal and the mission is to get home alive, and we can get attorneys and do the other part. But I love that people have opinions about it. And so on this particular this feed, they showed the reenactment. The chat is going crazy with the, you know, well, they should have did this or they shouldn't have did this, right? But then you've got the voiceover of the legal professional saying why what happened was or was not just, right? Based on the law in that particular state, because it was like a real reenactment of a real case.
Yeah.
When you think of, or when I think of the question about how do you deliver the message, how do you tell the story, how do you market, I see that being a component to the launching, right? Because you need community around this. And the way community comes around this is they have to see you as a reliable source, right?
Oh,
so
100%.
I go to your Facebook group to say, what should have happened here, right? This is what happened. What were my rights? And so you may want to consider incorporating something like that. That's the kind of group I think that will spread like wildfire through our community, because we're looking for resources like that. And the app is a complement to that, right?
Yes, it is.
Because we may not organically find the app, right? And realize how much it's going to help us. So we've got to be guided to the app, right? In a way that we then know that it's a valuable resource to us. So I would consider, like, again, I'm blown away of everything that you've said. I'm still blown away by the black mold tip, right? If you've got 100 more tips like that, you need some kind of social media presence where you're telling the people these tips. And then the app becomes and if you want to know more, download this app, right? And if you need some more help legally, download this app. These kind of tips are prime for what social media is about these days.
Oh, 100%. So I definitely push everybody to, like, you know, follow us on LinkedIn or follow us on Twitter. We have a lot of just like inspirational content. And like we started getting to the conversation of getting out like newspapers and stuff. And I just linked in the chat our most recent article, which is about the people who are in East Palestine, if you experience a chemical spill, how to get in contact with the attorneys who are running the case class action so that you can get money for that. Because they're giving out money. And we connected a link for the fact that Norfolk, what was it, Norfolk? I don't know what they call themselves. Anyways, the train company that derailed, they're giving out $1,000 to people in the area as a convenience fee.
Wow.
So that's like, we just made an article like, hey, this is where you go. This is the address if you live here and the phone number. And here are all the law firms that we know if we're working on this. We even tagged them in that particular article so that you can do that. And we want to get into that space of like, hey, this is how you get justice. Hey, this is how you get money for that. Justice and money are one and the same in many ways. So here's how you get some of the support that you need. So we definitely agree with that, and we're definitely trying our best to be that type of person. But we also believe that like there's a lot of great legal content creators, and we are a legal content website. We are basically legal social media. So we want to support those people and like have them say, oh, hey, have you looked at Layman? I'm also on there. I'm also putting content on there, and my content is on there. So if you want to know more about me, know more what's going on with me, go on Layman, see what's going on there. They affiliated with me, they supported me. So it's doing both of those elements of being like, one, being helpful as much as we can be, and also recognizing like the wealth of the space, recognizing the work of the people who are currently already here, and recognizing how much they're doing and giving, and not stepping on their toes, but really uplifting them. Like, look at this amazing post. Like, you know what I mean?
Very good. We're what's the handle across all social? Let's just take them one by one. Because
All
we
right.
it's like the admin's having trouble getting the Twitter handle. So let's just go through.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's totally fine. So I'm putting our Twitter handle first. Here we go. And then I'm putting our company handle next second for
So we've
LinkedIn.
got Twitter is Layman Team.
Yeah. And then, ooh, there we go. And that's
Very
for
good.
LinkedIn.
That's LinkedIn. Very, very good.
You're right. Let's go on fan base as well. That's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah, great platform. Yeah, you need one of your interns to be on the TikTok. That's what you need.
We would love that.
That's what you need. I'm telling
That's
you.
what we need.
That's what you need. Giving these tips that and then promoting the app, that's what you need right there.
Oh, 100%. That's why marketing is our hugest part of our raise. We want to market as well as we can. Our interns are kind of divided between like development, AI development, now in marketing to a certain degree, like understanding ad buy and SEO, but we don't have a marketing intern just yet, which is frustrating, but that's where we're at.
Yeah. Oh, Jackie said the government is going to ban TikTok, so fan base is the best solution. All right.
Fair.
Well, until they ban it, Jackie, I see a lot of people making a lot of money.
They
So,
are.
question about the exit strategy. Where
Okay.
do you see Layman going? I mean, do you see this being a company that you own for the next 50 years?
So the goal for Layman is to become something ingratiated part of the actual American infrastructure. We want it to be a household name, and so that you can't expect ever not having. Since Google's come into existence and Facebook comes into existence, we cannot imagine a world, no matter how much Mark Zuckerberg screws up, we cannot imagine a world without Facebook, for instance. And we want Layman to be like that too. Our goal actually isn't to be acquired because we believe what we're trying to do is of value and meaning. We want to have that same model that Google has, like do good up until like past like maybe 2 years ago, to say that we don't do good anymore. But we want to like do good, and we believe that does require some control. But we do want to also start entertaining federal and government contracts so that we can have that sustainability and we can have that reliability and work with the court system versus against it is our final goal. So that as I make all these statements about courts, recognize I'm talking about California and New York. Many courts outside of these two states are very, very, very underfunded and under-resourced. Many prison systems as well, when it comes to having a law library, some of them do, but they're also very under-resourced and underfunded. So the end goal for us to be starting to have federal contracts so we can be a part of this system to improve not only work against the courts, but improve the courses so it can be more accessible, and improve these prison law libraries so to be more accessible to people too, because these are spaces that people are truly engaging with the court and learning about the law and trying their best to change their lives. So we want to be that type of entity in the US marketing system. And one of our big dream goals, one of our big dream goals, is that we want to open up Layman hubs and centers in major cities. And don't think it's nothing crazy, but it's this idea of getting back to the old Friedman Zero, where you have a cafe or a spot that you can come to, is right in front of the court, right in front of the courtroom. You walk in there, you get a coffee, and you can get resources. You can work with our app. You can be connected to community because we will have a billboard up there. It's like a third way destination where you can start to have this conversation, and we're working out of there ourselves. So that experience of being a part of the fabric of what's uniquely Americans, what our green goal is.
I absolutely love that. Love everything about that. Very good. Any additional questions for Esosa? Any more questions? I've asked all mine. Any additional questions, guys, before we give our call to actions? All right, I'm gonna give my call to action, and I will let our amazing founder close us out. From a community standpoint, you guys know why we're here, right? You guys are very, very clear on the assignment and the mission that we are tasked with. We can all agree that a service like this is necessary. Communities, not just ours, right? Communities, people who don't have access to legal counsel definitely need to be able to have the access. And so being able to have the law firm partnerships, all of that is absolutely great. But I know quite a few people who have gone to court trying to represent themselves, and they have come out with egg on their face, right? And I just think about, and for easy stuff, right? Easy, simple stuff like child support stuff that, man, I got the receipts, right? Like very simple stuff where you think they would have walked out with a victory, and that's not the case. Just the mere presence of an attorney, and Esosa just said that kind of having even a bad attorney is better than not having one at all. And so, being able to have access like this and access to this information that allows us to be empowered and knowledgeable is key to so many communities, not just the Black community. And I think it's going to take this level of justice spreading throughout all communities to really make a change with the penal system, right? So in this situation, I'm Blackity Black, but in this situation, it's not about that. It's not just about that. This is going to help us, but this truly can change the system upon which, or the way it was built. And so, because it was built to keep us oppressed, right? To keep us not understanding how to navigate it and how to manipulate it. And so we need the assistance with that. And so I say all of that to say, when you think about this from an investment standpoint, you have to decide if it fits in your portfolio, right? But think about everything we've heard here tonight. Think about all the ways it makes money in the beginning, as well as down the line as it becomes more sophisticated technically, but then also as it gets more recognition. More than anything else, you guys know I always say this, I'm not gonna say anything different. There will be no spoiler alert. I'm gonna say the same thing I say to you guys every week. Share the heck out of this link, right? We've put the link to the campaign in the chat. Share it over and over and over again. People need to know about this so that they can make a determination on their own. The sooner Layman gets the funding that it needs, the sooner it can be launched, the sooner we can start using it, the sooner we can start becoming educated about simple things like, if you say you got black mold, it could buy you 3 to 6 months. That's simple tip, right? It has blown me away tonight, but it is the simplest tip that he probably could have given. And it is going to save, I know, because I'm going to tell 2 people that need this information, it's going to save 2 people from being out on the street within the next 30 days. And so this is absolutely amazing. You know what you need to do. Share it. Do your due diligence, consider in adding it to your own portfolio. I'm not a financial advisor, so I cannot tell you what to invest in, but I can definitely ask you to share the heck out of this link. And so that is what my plea to you is this evening. And then once it becomes available, I want us to all download it. So I mean it. So I mean, when it's ready, I need you to send me the link and come back and talk to us on a Monday night. When you come tell us it's launched, and we can kind of deliver it to our larger community, and we can all download it in real time, because I know that the next initiative will be, you're going to have a goal of how many downloads you want, right?
Yes.
We're the community we want you to come back to, right? We are your community now. right? I'll be sending you information about your membership. You are now a lifetime member with us. And so we're your tribe. We're the place we want you to come back as you have the launch, as you upgrade, as you grow the business and the interns turn into real full-time positions. We've got an expert directory and a community of people who may do some of those things you're looking for as a full-time, job. And so don't be a stranger. I say that to say we're the community you've been looking for, and utilize us the way you need us, because we want to help you move this forward financially, but also, with a little elbow grease, right? Because this needs to be launched. The world needs this.
Thank you so
Absolutely
much.
does. Yeah. What do you
no,
want to say to the people?
First of all, thank you all for your time. Thank you so much for sharing in this idea, this vision with me. And I would love for you guys to invest. I would love for you guys to follow anything that I put on here. Funny enough, I'm not a social media person that much, but I really believed in this, so I did my best that I could. The one thing I will say, no matter what you do, and one thing that's part of the vision of the world that I really want everyone to take away from all of this, is that the law is the set of promises we make to each other. That's when people tell you what the law is, what is the core, what do we do, what we're going on here, what is the Constitution, it's promises to each other. When a promise is broken, you deserve justice. If you're not receiving what you need, you should make a new promise. And for every single thing you do, whether it's through Layman or anything else, make these promises and believe in these promises and get justice for the promises that are broken to you. If you feel like an expectation has been failed, it has been failed, and find the justice you need. You have the ability within you, and I've seen so many successful cases already, even before launching the app, of people who you would not believe could not win before a court of judges, and people who hate them win. So do it, find it, make community, make network, do whatever it takes. I believe in you. Layman obviously believes in you. People are on your side.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. With that said, sir, have a wonderful evening. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I did have one more question before we go.
Yes, sure.
Why the 10K project? Why was it important to come here to us?
Oh, okay, sure, yes. When I started this, I had no idea about venture capital. So I was in the position that many of you people are when it comes to the 10K project, where I was like, I want to fix a problem, but I know nothing about business or entrepreneurship. Then I got a crash course in that, oh, you are a Black entrepreneur, so therefore you're not going to get a lot of support. The 10K project advocated for both, where it was both the experience of being developed into someone who's economically savvy, which is something I truly do believe in myself as an individual. I focus on economic injustice and discrimination law, so I definitely agree with that. And then secondly is that venture piece where, how do I put this? If the Black dollar is going to go anywhere and get anywhere in changing the power systems that be in this country, it has to be in that we're investing in each other and believing in our own ideas. So it is that concept as well, and being beholden to community like that, and getting a supportive community like that, and supporting inversely a community like that when it comes to getting things done.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the time and the energy that you're putting around this campaign and running the business and really moving it forward. I'm gonna hold you to getting this beta out. I'm gonna hold
Of course.
don't make me don't make me call you once a week talking about where the beta the beta at. You know, I'll do it.
Feel free. I'm here for it.
I'm a good accountability partner. No, this is absolutely wonderful, sir. Please know that we are here for you. Oh, it looks like we got another question pop in. Oh, Jackie said, how long is the campaign? So Jackie, we're on the front end of it, but very good question. How long will the campaign continue?
September.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's because of, so the WeFunder may close sooner than that, but the actual round will close in September, because we're doing both the WeFunder round and also a private equity round, as you can imagine. So the way WeFunder works is that once you reach what you're going to reach, it closes, right? Unless we reopen that. But when it comes to the private equity round, we have a formalistic end at September. We have some partners we want to get ready to invest with, and we believe that September they'll be in the right place. So that's how it's working out with that. But as with this WeFunder, you have this time block. That's all I can say. It's until then, and then September is probably way over.
Yeah. So September for the total capital raise, not including WeFunder.
Not even
But
including WeFunder.
but you definitely, WeFunder could close early. So Jackie's saying I have some time. So Jackie, what I would recommend, I'm not trying to be in your pocket, Miss Jackie, but what I would recommend is maybe you put a little bit down now and then you add
Yeah.
a bit later.
No,
You
definitely.
don't miss getting in if that's something you're interested in. So yeah, Padraic, and I hope I didn't say that wrong because it's a beautiful name. I hope I didn't mispronounce it. It said, I'm investing. Can you mention the equity round? So this is, so if you look on the campaign page, you will see the deal terms, right?
Mhm.
This is it's a safe note. The first 25K is at a preferable term. And so all of that is listed there. Right. And a safe note is the simple agreement for future equity. And so what that means is that Esosa will do another round, right, in the future. And when that second round happens, it is going to be a priced round where anyone who has a safe note will then be able to get in at that preferred rate. So that's how safe notes work. And there's a lot of information on safe notes. I think we even have something in our knowledge center about how it works as well. Okay. So with that said, thank you for that final question. We appreciate it. Everyone have a wonderful evening. You guys know how I feel about you. Thank you for rocking with us week after week. We appreciate you so much. As we approach anniversary number 3, we know that we could not do this with you. And we know there's still so much more work for us to do here at the 10K Project. There are hundreds of founders like Esosa waiting for us to assist. And so please share even the 10K Project link. It's anniversary number 3. Share the link with your family and friends as well. Get them on board. The more of us there are, the more founders we can help, and the more we can help even one founder. And so as we approach our anniversary, we're doing a referral program. If you refer someone and they join the membership, you go in a drawing to win up to $300. And then the person who joined goes into a drawing to win a free annual membership. So it's our birthday kind of, and birthday anniversary. It's so funny because we were like, should we say it's our birthday or should we say it's our anniversary? So it's our birthversary, and we are giving back even in that. So please share the link to Layman. Please share the link to 10K, and we can help Layman more, and we can help more Laymans, right? And so, we just appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Have a productive rest of your week. Do something wonderful for yourselves. Love on yourselves a little bit, because you guys deserve it, because you definitely love on these founders. So thank you so very, very much. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Good night.